I'm very proud of the table we have here. So really interesting melting pot of idea, experience, and competence. And I'm very grateful to all of them and to Karen that coordinate everything. I think we have here a very, very interesting group of people that can give a huge contribute to understand what Esxence is proposing and trying to support. So artistic perfumery is what is, whatever is potential, and I'm very proud to let you to coordinate this event. Thank you very much to all of you, and thank you to all the public and operators to be there, because I think that is a very key point to understand what the future will be for Esxence and for artistic perfumery. Thank you so much, Karen.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the panel discussion on Artisan Perfumery, Business Opportunities and Business Threats. My name is Karen Marin. I'm the Business Development Manager for North and South America for Perfumes Givenchy. It's a pleasure, and I'm thrilled to be here today with a dynamic and very professional panel. We are going to discuss questions that are very important to all of us in this room, and I hope you enjoy it. So we'll get started right away, and then at the end we'll have time for questions and comments. So first I'd like to introduce the panel. Well, starting on the far side, we have Philip Hillage with Skins of Netherlands. Then I have Francois Duquesne, who's with the Beauty Enterprise. He's the founder and creator. Then we have Etienne Deswot, also founder and creator of Italie de l'Orange. Christophe Servacel, who is founder and creator of Atelier Colon. And then Luc Gabriel, president of the different company. So welcome, gentlemen, and again, thank you for all of your collaboration. And just to tell you, yes, there are women in this industry, and I did invite two to the panel, but neither was available. So this is an equal opportunity environment. So yesterday, Silvio had a panel on artisan fragrance, artisan perfumery, and the values. So if we take that up as a point of conversation, we notice that we're moving from the term niche to the term artisan perfumery. So how do we define that? What does it mean? What makes it different? Francois, how about we start with you? How would you answer that?
For me, niche never existed. I mean, for us in this industry, it makes sense to talk about niche, but for the consumer, niche, I mean, for me as a French, it means you're a good dog, you stay in your own. So I think it's good if the term is migrating on the consumer perspective, because what consumer sees with fragrance is a market splitting between one product being a consumer good and one product being luxury good. And I would say that artisan perfumery is within the luxury concept. I mean, luxury, cultural good. So where the creative direction actually matters versus just the market analysis. So that's good news that these terms are changing, if they change.
Christophe, would you have anything to add to that?
I have, with Sylvie Ganter, my wife and partner, we are 50-50 in the company. We have one brand outside of the beauty business that we love. It's Apple computer or Macintosh, Mac. And I think when they started, they were kind of niche. And look where they are today. for me, this would be I think the best summary of what we are trying to do, all of us, and some started quite a long time ago, and where we are heading. I think the Apple story is of course very extreme because they had such a success, but I think this is what we must look at, because they really had a dream, they had a passion, and they really listened to their customer as well, and they have been very innovative, taking risks, so selling a computer at twice the price of IBM, when everybody was selling Steve Jobs, and you're just crazy. And many did it, and many people followed it. And today, Apple is the most valuable company in the world. So I think for me, this is the model. Even if, of course, there are many differences between what they do and what we do.
That's an interesting analogy. Philip, how would you describe or define Artisan Perfumery?
Yeah, well, from a retailer's point of view, I see, of course, many changes in the last 15 years. Many brands started as or tissue perfumery, how you call it. And of course, there's a big change going on that many brands are being bought by the big companies. And then maybe Artisan Perfumery is more changing into luxury. And the bigger companies more treat those brands as luxury brands.
And Luke, would you have anything to add?
No, just one thing on what Christopher just said. Something interesting about Apple is that it almost died before they launched the iPod. And when the iPhone launched, everybody was like, what is this thing? And it just turned around the company, but nobody really believed in it at the time. And the interesting thing for us is that we need to, come back, okay, let me fix this, it's better this way. We need to believe in what we do, and we need to take risks. The minute we will not be taking risks as, each brand, or however you call it, would just be a regular brand or, a regular perfume store, or whatever you call it. So we need to take risks, we need to believe in it, and we need to stick and be coherent to what we do. Otherwise, back to what Philip said, being bought by a big company, if you sort of dilute yourself into whatever marketing tools you have, you're not an artistic perfumer anymore.
Okay. Let's talk about distribution, because we just had an inkling of that. So, in terms of creating a distribution strategy, is there an optimal one? And how many points of sale would that include? Francois, what would you say to that distribution strategy?
I'd say that the ideal distribution strategy is actually to reach the consumer directly. Christophe was talking about Apple as they started their own retail stores. It was a great way to have immediate feedback on your product and what you sell. But then there are sizes of our companies that are mostly independent, who just can't afford their own retail network, and there are wholesale channels that can be great. The very most important thing is, how do you, as a brand, bring a different experience to the retailer? So you are interesting for them. So if you're just on the shelf between other brands, it's very hard to create any consumer experience. But if you have a concept and a strong brand DNA where you can create some experience at the retail level, then you become a very interesting partner for retailers. And I guess it's the way to go. Now you have a network of department stores in the world that are starting to opening their space to brands that create an experience at your level. And that is the success of Le Labo, for instance, that has been taken over by Estée Lauder, is a good example of a company that has created an experience on the same floor. That's why they have been very attractive now to larger groups.
Christophe, your company has some beautiful stores, branded stores. what do you think about a distribution strategy? I've seen it's expanded, or it's an interesting strategy, the one that you have, and you have a great reach. So how does Atelier Cologne work on that?
We started in the American department store, Perfumes and Perfumes. That was our first partner retailer 5 years ago. Very quickly, we thought that as I was saying that it would be absolutely necessary to express our company, our maison de parfum, to an environment, in an atelier. We opened our first atelier in New York City, downtown, and then in Paris, and then two more in Brooklyn and Le Marais. And as François is saying, I think it's great because your brand becomes complete. You have great feedback, good feedback from the customer, and you really learn how to build progressively the customer experience of the brand. That then you can try to replicate in a department store or even in a beauty concept store like Skins or Philippe, and as well for us in some Sephora environment when they give us the possibility to express our DNA, and of course on internet. So I think in perfume, again, like in computer, you need to use all the channels, but without never losing your DNA, because what makes a brand successful is that it's not only the product, but it's an experience, an atmosphere, and so you have to maintain that whatever channel you are selling through.
And Philip is our sole retail member of the panel. Distribution in the Artisan Perfumery, clearly you want something, maybe an exclusive. What's your point of view?
Well, I mean, Artisan Perfumery, I always say, is about storytelling. That you want to tell the story of the founder of the brand and everything, which is the DNA. Of course, we always really support it and really see the difference when also a brand is having their own stores around the world. People shop everywhere, get the inspiration from many different places, and it helps us also as a retailer when a brand has its own store. And of course, we always try to find a combination, sometimes of course with a personalized space, but it's not always possible because we also have a boutique feeling. With small kind of events, you can create a story for a brand. But in the end, when you look a bit further than only the perfumery business, the consumer is continuously changing. Also, the retail environment is continually changing, so I think you always have to look at different distribution options, also on the internet, and also to stores who are not doing only cosmetics, but also fashion or accessories. As long as there's a passionate team of people fully dedicated to a brand, you can also sell it outside the perfumery. When the environment is right, you can do more than only selling in perfumery stores.
Like a concept store, for example. Yeah. So we just briefly touched on internet, which is can be a challenge for fragrance because you can't smell it. So how do you sell fragrance on the internet? How do you really make your story come alive and convey it in a virtual environment? And Christophe, I think Atelier Cologne does a beautiful job. So tell us how it came about.
Thank you very much again. It's my wife actually, so
we should have her here.
So she's in New York right now. She's really in charge. I mean, we split the responsibility in the company, and she's in charge of internet. And I think that, of course, I'm in love with her, so I'm not very objective. But I think the fact that one of us two really decided to jump into that world that we didn't know, trying to learn, of course, employing resources that are specialists of internet, is giving us, let's say, somehow good results. I'm not personally crazy about our website. I still believe we can do so many more things that some retailers like Skins are doing, or other retailers. But yeah, it's a good start. I think you just need to be convinced that this is the future, that this is not competing with your store or with your retailer store. It's really complementary, and I think every internet specialist, which I'm not, is telling you that it's necessary today to be very strong on internet, very present, really explain carefully your product, give the possibility to buy, of course, on internet. If people, you know, it's midnight and you are in a city where there is not a store where you can find our products, then you need to give the possibility to buy. But you have to take it seriously and start to dive into that, because this is just the way it is in so many businesses now. And I love to buy on the internet for travels and many things, so why not perfume, of course.
Well, certainly from a convenience standpoint and a stocking standpoint, internet is a fabulous tool for everyone. Etienne, I think Italie for the Launch has a beautiful site. It's very evocative of the brand, and how did it come about?
Yes, the web is definitely something crucial for the future of niche, but I just would like to come back to the definition, because I was listening to my friends, and I think that the best definition for me of the niche industry is the capacity to last. And we have, as a shareholder at Italie d'Orange, because we love the eclecticism, we have a Chinese tycoon. When he came at Italie d'Orange, he said, "Oh, I love the glamour of niche, but it's very much beautiful PR, no sales." So the guy controls part of the tobacco business in China, and he was a little bit, you know, he did that job. But it's true that niche, we have a kind of schizophrenic situation at niche. On one side, we do that minimum turnover, but on the other side, you know, it's very small. So definitely my best definition of niche is the capacity also to last and to stay alive and to keep on the momentum of glamour, and at the same time to pay the bills. So definitely niche is also a kind of struggle for life. So it's very much Darwin, and it's very much survival of the fittest. So in a way, at the end of the day, niche, it's beautiful PR, but it's very small sales. So the struggle for life is part of the niche daily crusade. So the web, yes, we do quite well on the web, and it grows plus 30%. But you have more and more people in the niche, obviously in the niche business, but also in the web. So you have to be very creative, and the ticket now to make it happen on the web is also tricky. So it's part of the future of niche, obviously.
Anyone else want to comment on e-commerce?
Since he gave me the microphone, I just closed an internet business that I started up 18 months ago called Fragrance Republic, and it's the answer. It's what you just said. The price of ticket for entering the internet today is very high.
Well, that leads us to our next question, which is the fact that consumer shopping patterns are evolving and changing. Technology is playing a growing role in our daily lives. And so how do we evaluate what new channels are appropriate for artisan perfumery? Philip, I know we talked about this in depth, so...
In my opinion, especially, of course, we already discussed the internet. We experience that the consumer is extensively searching the internet before going to an actual retail store. We see that every day in our stores. Also, we have a different strategy online than in our physical stores. We stock many more brands in our online store than in our physical store, and we play with that. So yeah, the consumer wants to be surprised. There's always a limit on the physical store what you can do in terms of place and space in your store. So I think the model has to be very creative in a way that you can reach customers with a lot of sampling manners, with mailings, to experience also new samples and perfumes at home. If they can order online, if they can go to a store. The consumer is very, I don't know the English word for it, but it's really changing, and the landscape as well. So yeah, you can find, I think, artisan perfumery in the future in many different not only stores, but also online stores, and I think also different stores than perfumery stores.
Etienne, I I know that what we talked about was that you now have a boutique in the travel retail. So airport is also sort of a new dynamic of where artisanal fragrance can be found. People are traveling all the time. They don't have time to shop when they're at home, so they're in the airport. How did Christophe say for Atelier? How is that dynamic working? Is it something that's growing? Is it a trend that you're going to see at more airports?
I think that there is an evolution. Definitely, you have more and more amateurs of perfumes instead of consumers. So it's a key thing. You have more and more knowledgeable consumers that they would like to share on skin something with a different particularity, something with a different formulation that is not truly shared with billions of people. So definitely that there is a new trend coming from the consumers with more and more amateurs. And the web is also very proactive, you know, creating amateur with a true vision and a true knowledge of what's going on in terms of formulation. So it creates a flow of business from the consumers. Then you have more and more retailers that would like to play part of the niche, including Sephora and obviously the big department store. And on the other side, yes, the last followers in that industry will be the travel retail. And with what's going on with Sephora, what's going on with the rest of the retailers, they would like to play part of it. But it's very difficult to make it happen also and to rotate in the travel retail environment. And it could be part of the next challenge. But yes, definitely there is something to play in the travel retail, but it's quite challenging to make it, to get your money back. Take the money and run, that's the spirit of the issue.
Christophe, would you
Yeah, so this is what we call in our company the traveler's business. And we just, some of you know, we just raised 5 million euro capital increase, and 1 million will be dedicated to the traveler's business, so hotel, airlines, and I don't like to call that duty free, but travel retail store. This is how in Europe we call that now, because it's not, I don't think it's anymore about a price advantage. Of course, sometimes you can find that on some brands, but it's really minor now. I don't think people will buy in an airport because there is a $5 or $10 price advantage. Again, I repeat, maybe in some cases, but I think what has been done in many fields in alcoholic, for example, and in fashion, is just to understand that these areas are privileged areas because people have time. And who has time today? No one. So when you are in an airport, you have time. This is when we should offer you a fantastic experience to discover a brand in the best way. And this is where we consider that even if they are not all ready, but they are really working very actively. I'm talking about the travel retail operators. We started with idea in Paris, Charles de Gaulle 2F terminal, where basically the customer can have the same experience that they can have in a department store like Galeries Lafayette or close to our boutique, and this is working very well. And so I just believe that this is very important that we all take that very seriously and that we really spend a lot of time, not only money, but a lot of time to really convince the airport operators that we can bring experience and so revenues, because this is what the traveler is looking for.
All right. Big question. So recently, Estee Lauder acquired Le Labo and Frederic Malle, which are two artisan perfume brands, and Puig took on L'Artisan Parfumeur and Halligan's. So what effect does this dynamic have? The large brand acquiring a small brand, what effect does it have on other artisan perfumery brands in the sector? Luke, I know we talked about this, so would you share your thoughts?
Yeah, something interesting that Etienne said, that survival of the fittest. We've been around for 15 years. We went through the 2007-8 crisis. If you guys were here at that time, you know what it was like. Etienne talked about Chinese partnership. Christophe mentioned raising 5 million euros. And others are not here because Estee Lauder bought them or Puig bought them. We discussed with Sylvia as well about what is a brand like a niche brand, and being independent, is it part of the definition of it? And so that's a big question for all of us. You know, we don't need to hide, put it in the open. Should we continue, raise money, partner with somebody else, but keep the creative direction? Or what is the end game? Should we sell the brands, all the companies, to these big guys? Now, what it actually changes in the field is that for 3-4 years you have 2 types of initiatives. Because niche came from nothing to a business, and now a business worth to look at from a pure revenue perspective. The first thing was the trend of the, what I call regular brands, and that's not, you know, that's what I think. Like Chanel, Dior, they have regular brands when it comes to fragrances, right? And they develop their high-end selection of products. That's one threat entering the game. And the second is big names like Bush that are selling to a different strategy regularly. Or recently, we mentioned it, but Interparfum by La Crochet. Interparfum, the perfect license developer. I mean, they've done a great job of that. And all of a sudden, they spent $108 million to buy a brand. So to buy history, DNA, and development. So that's a huge switch in the business. So the question is, what is the future for us independents in that field? Should we raise every one of us like 5 million euros? Should we get Chinese partners? Should we work on a different level with the retailers? That's really an open question, because at the end of the day, if the niche brands do not continue to be completely creative and what I said at the beginning, taking risks, which by the way is not what these big companies do better, we all know that. They're very smart at managing the business and developing the products. Taking risks is another question. Then we might lose the creative side of what we are, and then we could sort of, you know, dilute ourselves in more global business. So I think we're right now, as we speak, 2015, I'm trying.
Francois, would you care to comment?
No, I think you said it all. I think it looks like the future is into the maison de parfum. Rocha, c'est une maison de parfum. You also mentioned that Shiseido actually just were just the global distributor of Cervitins. Now they acquired more than the license. They're very important. So it's actually what you find in fashion. Maison de couture, you know, also the maison de parfum. Maison de parfum, Chanel is a maison de parfum, Hermès is a maison de parfum, there is a perfumer in-house, there is a distribution that is controlled all the way, and I think the future maybe, that's why some companies like Puig or Estée Lauder are interested to take what we call niche brands, but it's actually not niche brands, they're just maison de parfum. They have a creative direction, even some lost it, but we'll retrieve it. They have a distribution channel, they offer a consumer experience at the retail level, which I was mentioning before, and I think they have all the attributes of a luxury brand. These groups clearly see that the future of fragrance is not into consumer good, because today you can buy at Zara a fragrance for 90 euros, it's a great product, but the future is into building luxury brands. Build luxury brands with a full creative direction, like a maison de couture, with a creator, like a maison de parfum. So I think that's what I can see trending, basically.
We're talking about the Chinese, so we say a word about the Chinese. Our beautiful Chinese, the guy who came at Italy d'Orange, he's not that much fluent in English, but he's a bright brain, and he said, Etienne, état libre d'Orange is a beautiful haute couture. Now time prêt-à-porter. So What I would like to say, I think at niche, we go the other way around. That means that we create the haute couture, and sometimes we can suffocate in the flow of business of the haute couture, but without the prêt-à-porter. So we all dream here to have a kind of next step into prêt-à-porter to finance and sustain the haute couture. So in a way, yes, truly niche is slightly schizophrenic, and we are lost in translation somehow in between the haute couture, which is the glamour, the PR, the edginess, the eclecticism, the fun, the risk-taking attitude, what you were talking, Luc. But also, at the end of the day, we all dream that one thing will transform into a prêt-à-porter. So the prêt-à-porter could be to sell to Estée Lauder, to sell to, and then to stretch. Because moving into a phase 2 of violent stretching could create some big turmoil in terms of cash flow. So in fact, somehow we stay very protective and we just swim in the haute couture area, but we dream that one day we'll move into a kind of prêt-à-porter that will sustain the haute couture. And so niche is very much haute couture dreaming for prêt-à-porter.
Okay. Let's look at a retailer perspective of large companies buying smaller ones.
It's something which is not, in my opinion, new from the last year. It's happening in the full history of brands like it's nothing new, in my opinion. We have been dealing with this since we have started our business 15 years ago. Of course, we're also selling Van Dyck Mall and Le Labo very successfully in our stores since more than 10 years. For us, the most important thing is I'm not kicking out a brand necessarily when it's being bought by a larger group. For me, it's very important if the owner stays on board. Well, that's the case with Van Dyck Mall and Le Labo at the moment. They don't change very dramatically their retail or their distribution model, so they keep very loyal to us as a partner. And then for me, there's no reason. Of course, we had some other brands in the past, which were being bought, and then the owner was also quitting, and then they went to a much larger distribution model. Okay, we're stay friends, but okay, then sorry, we kick you out of our business. We look for another brand. I mean, that's just the dynamic of the business, which I think will never change.
Let's move on to our next question, which is about pretenders. And this is a term that I've heard from several of you as well as from Sylvia. So many companies try to come into the landscape of artisanal perfumery, but they're not exactly who you would necessarily be friends with. Let's just put it that way. So do they pose a threat? Are they clouding the environment? Do they confuse the consumer, basically? And Luke, why don't we start with you on that one?
I would say when a business is thriving, the more the merrier, but there's a limit to it, of course. The first limit is on the retailer side. You have so much space, you can't invent spaces in traditional niche perfumeries. But at the same time, you have more space because your clients go to different places, like you mentioned travel retail, travel retail or hotels, and lots of different spaces. So, and also, department stores are switching more to niche perfumeries. People think there's business to be made here, so they jump into the fray. That's part of, let's be clear on that, part of the motivation for lots of new brands is just that. Margins, business, let's mix it up. Some others have a entirely different motivation, which is the passion for creation, which is another thing. Now, at the end of the day, the only difference between whether it's crowded or whether it clouds, the shelves, it's up to the retailers. Because they're making this decision to take a brand on board or not. And that's the only one who can decide about that. And so what I've seen over the years is that in between 2008 and 10, we've already had that sort of new concept kicking in. And because everybody loves new, so why don't we take it as a retailer? Then it lasted for a year or two. And then back to the real brand with DNA, and then new more entering. So it's kind of very nice to have developed a new concept because it proves that it's very alive, it's developing business. But at the same time, and this is why at Comité Joséphine we have sort of made some rules on what we think a niche brand is or is not. At the same time, we need to be clear as to what is haute couture or prêt-à-porter et haute couture and what is not.
Francois, I know we talked about this topic as well.
I was just dreaming about what you said, what you were saying. I'd say the market is open for everyone. The big revolution in the last, I would say, 15, 20 years is that now, as an entrepreneur, you can have access to lots of resources and build a beautiful perfume brand. The question is the distribution, which is more and more selective. It has to be, because more people enter this market, the competition is bigger and the space is not larger in those stores. And to Etienne's aspect, how do you finance it? Because the entry price is now higher. There was a time you could just buy a stock bottle and a stock cap and put your little etiquette and write your story. May have eventually find a retailer. Today, you have significant investment to do in the packaging and also in the mise en scène, the way you show your product at the store level. So there is an experience that is interesting for the consumer. So, market is still open, and it's good news because this is what drives the creativity, and competition is very healthy. But entry, the ticket to enter is, I think, higher now than it was maybe 10 years ago.
Philip, I know that we talked about this, and as a retailer, indeed your space is finite. So, and you told me I think you get about 100 submissions a week. So, what are you looking for now, and how do you filter?
Yeah, well, it's getting, I'd say every market which draws attention is getting the fortune seekers, and it's a little bit what we're talking about. In the early days, when we started our company, we had to search ourselves very much for the brands for our collection. These days, it's almost more than a full-time job. You're getting indeed more than, well, let's say 10 at least companies knocking on our door, please, can we start a partnership? And it's getting more and more difficult to find the real stories, and that everything has to be right and it has to be well funded these days, because if you're only the best creator of the world and you make a nice story but your company is not funded well enough, there's no way to survive. So there's many different things we have to look at before we can enter a new brand in our collection, and then we only enter or launch a few brands per year, so that selection process is getting more and more difficult. That's definitely true.
Absolutely. Any other comments from the panel on this question? No? We'll move on to the real threat, which would be the regulations, the price positioning. How do we combat these threats while maintaining brand integrity and continuing the creative process? Ingredients are no longer available, or reformulation needs to happen. You have voluminous documents to complete, otherwise your product will be removed from the market. How do you combat that? Luke, I know we had a long conversation about this. Let's start with you.
Yeah, just very briefly, something that we talked yesterday in the workshop, we talked about yesterday in the workshop, becoming more and more of a threat is just the ability to continue our business and to actually create fragrances, those tools and materials we need to have to continue being creative. Those who were here yesterday, just mentioned the initiative in California, the Air Resources Board. Okay, not a lot of people heard about it. I personally heard about it on the 18th of February, and if we don't comply by the 2nd of July, every single store when we sell products without providing this information, we will have a fine of $10,000 US. per store. It starts on the 2nd of July. That's the kind of constraints that come out of the blue. And we have such resources. We can't have, zillions of dollars and lots of people assigned to that. The same thing in Europe. There's been a threat last year and continues to be here, so that at the end of the day we might not be able to have the tools to continue what the essence of it is, and again, is the creativity. So it's kind of easy to get rid of a business if you get rid of the tools they have. Let's ask yourself a question.
Francois, would you have anything to add to that?
Just from my American experience, I can see a movement in the west coast of America, mostly, of so-called artisan perfumers who are actually hippies in this industry. They don't care about respecting IFRS, they just mix the oils they want to mix and go with it. And that's what happened there, because at one point, as Luc was saying, the regulation is restricting the use of many beautiful materials. And some people just decide to be hippie, to be basically outside of the system and take the responsibility. But we as company who are founded, who are insurance companies, etc., today we can't go the risk to be not IFRA compliant when we make a fragrance. Imagine someone has an allergy and sues us, we may end up in jail. So it's a real issue. And I'm glad Luc is tapping it, because it's a real threat for our industry, and that's why there needs to be some regulations and some lobby to represent our companies.
Any other comments on the panel? I just want to go back. If not, I just wanted to go back to this question. Because since we've been here, there's rumors that Amazon wants to buy Net-a-Porter. And Net-a-Porter is not only a fashion site, but it also sells fragrance and cosmetics. So here's a new shopping pattern. As a point of distribution, what does it mean to Artisan Perfumery? I did quite a bit of research on Amazon, and I found the site to be extremely clinical. And if I were to buy a fragrance, I would never go there. I want to be romanced, I want to be convinced, I want some beauty. And now with them buying Net-a-Porter, or if they buy, it's a little more of a threat to other points of distribution. So, does anyone on the panel want to comment on this topic? Jump in.
Something a little bit more global about. I think that niche, we truly take advantage of the mutation of the industry from the consumers. So I was discussing with the guys of Procter & Gamble, and they came to Italique d'Orange and they said, "Oh, we love Italique d'Orange because what we truly love is you go fast, because when you think about the concept, you can transfer the brief, transfer the emotion, transfer the sincerity." And us at Procter & Gamble, we take something like 18 to 24 months to launch a perfume program, and when we launch, in fact, we are a little bit has-been according to the situation today, or to the trends and everything, to the consumer trends. So what we do love at niche is your capacity to go fast. So in a way, yes, we can serve the mutation, and that's part of the value of niche. If there is a mutation with Amazon, we're going to be the first one to be on board and to serve that way. That's the only way also to stay alive, is to be ready for that mutation, which is the opportunity of niche, because we go fast. Versus Procter and all those heavy players.
Okay, Christophe.
Today we love to partner with the website for retail partners. So, frankly speaking, I think it's for us it's necessary that you have what we call click and mortar strategy. So I love the click and mortar retail partners, like Skin, like department store, like Sephora. and actually we have boutique and our site. And I believe that for perfume, maybe not for beauty, and I think we have to differentiate beauty and perfume. Perfume is really a lot about the emotion. I think the major difficulty, that's the challenge, and that's the interest of our, I would say, of our world, the world of perfume, is that why do we buy perfume? Because today the main question in all marketing research is why. Why people buy, and customers think, why you created this perfume? Why? The why is the most important question. More than how or how much or why. And I think why people buy perfume, for me, it has a lot to see about psychological emotion. And this is the most difficult thing to catch, to understand, to plan. And when it's about, I think, being on internet, I think you have a lot of difficulty to transmit this emotion as opposed as being in a store. So I don't know if Amazon wants to create Amazon beauty store. I think they should start to do that. I think if they want to be somehow becoming a beauty player, they should start to have some Amazon beauty brick and mortar stores. And then it would be natural to have an Amazon beauty click internet business. This is the way I see it. And today we only work with partners who have both legs.
Yeah, just to dwell on that, something I think is very important. Like some brands here, I guess. I got people from Asia coming in and said to me, I want to work with you because we have a store. And I said, okay, what store? They said, we have a site. They take it the other way around. Internet is client relationship management. You have the emotion, as you said. You have the relationship, you have the discovery of the fragrance and of the story in the store. You don't create that on the internet. On the internet, you have repeat buying. You have a continuous relationship between the brand and the clients. You're entering a different zone. So actually what Amazon is doing is they're piggybacking on this. Basically, partnering with the store and their website is a very good thing because they continue the experience on the net. But I doubt that any brand here on Amazon, there are some, I know they're on Amazon, Prestige Beauty, whatever, is doing a great deal of money because we're not big enough so they can piggyback on the rich, on the repeat buyer. And at the end of the day, it might even create a problem just for the reason that Christophe mentioned, which is to maintain the quality of the brand experience, not the product experience. I mean, the day when you're going to smell the temperature, the fragrances, is not too hard. But, brand experience is absolutely crucial. And I don't think, considering this other aspect you mentioned, that this exists.
Any other comments from the panel?
When I was at the beginning at LVMH, I remember that my first teaching lesson from an old guy at LVMH, he said, Etienne, keep in mind that the job at LVMH is to promote at the same time the goodwill and the brand image and also the net sales. So it's always, it's always a balance in between doing that minimum sales to finance, the goodwill, what we call in French les actifs incorporels. So obviously Amazon is a terrific opportunity, plenty of brands, but also a terrific threat. Because will you be doing some goodwill or will you be doing some net sales, but it won't last because they are not brand builders. So that's the dilemma of plenty of brands, including big brands. So Amazon could be a formidable net sales machine, but they could be a brand builder, so they can crash you easily. So it's always, trying to find solutions in a permanent dilemma. That's the schizophrenia, the sweet schizophrenia of being lost in between brand building and net sales.
Great. Is there any closing comments anyone would like to make before we open the floor to questions? I think we've covered quite a bit of what we discussed. So then let's go on to see if there's any questions from the audience.
Hi, can I just ask a question? Just go back to the slide on regulations. Do you think IFRA poses a large sort of restriction on niche fragrance? Sorry, what was the question? Do you think IFRA, the IFRA regulation, do you think that poses a large threat to the artisan perfumery?
The EFRA regulation. Personally, I'm not familiar with it. Can you explain it? EFRA. Okay, EFRA. Thank you. Okay.
Yes. So in fact, we try to translate the problems to Givaudan, IFF, and MAN. So that's part of the. We don't have the internally. We don't have the expertise, you know. So mostly it's trying to entertain the relationship with Givaudan, MAN, IFF, and Firmenich, and they will help you. But obviously, it's quite tricky because you have to change the formulation, you have to rework the formulation, you have to get rid of bulk because they are no more IFRA. But mostly it's the problems and which is a big problem for Givaudan, IFF, and Société de Composition. I think that the IFRA for niche is mostly transferred to Givaudan and not internally.
I would just add also. Of course, we will adapt, and I'm like Christophe, you know, regulation are like that, we will adapt. But it depends what we're talking about. There's IFRA going on, like regulations that are going on, and then there is what they have in the pipeline. And I think, so far I was very pragmatic and said, well, it doesn't really matter, we will always adapt. But when I realized what there is on the pipeline, like not using jasmine, natural, like, ooh, we need to tap that. But we can't do anything here at this level. It's really in the hands of the larger ingredient companies.
So my answer was no, for 3 reasons. The first, we work with Robertet and MAN, and I think we have that chance in France to have this very old family Maison de Parfum, but quite powerful financially speaking as well. And they're really fighting for us, and probably did not talk enough about them today, because without them, none of us would be here. They are having the headaches for us, in a way. Second, this would be more my general comment in this session, is that artistic perfumery is a nice term for the customer. We are more, let's say, in the backside of the movie here, and I would call it entrepreneur perfumery. I think what we all do is we are entrepreneur, and this is a French word that many people believe is American. It's a nice word, entrepreneur. And I think whether big groups are acquiring or whether big retailers want to open an important area in their shops for artistic perfumery, we have to remain entrepreneur. I think Luc said, without quoting the word, what you said, that what will make the difference, what will help us to grow the market, innovate, be creative, keep the passion, can only be possible if we remain entrepreneur, whether we remain independent, whether we open our capital to shareholders, or whether we sell to big groups. We have to fight for the entrepreneur spirit, which is, by the way, I believe, and this is a more global topic, because of France, the situation in France, everybody knows it's very tough. I believe that the survival of countries like the European countries, and I think Americans have clearly understood that since ages, is to be more entrepreneur, more taking risks, be more reactive, be more clever, do the same with less money, etc., etc. So for me, this would be this is why I hope it's not a threat, because if we all remain entrepreneur, we grow that category of artistic perfumery, maison de parfum, it will grow the market of perfume. perfume, and we can all benefit from that. But we have to remain entrepreneur and not become corporate. It's very important.
My answer is yes for 3 reasons. I have to think of 3 on the way, but anyway. So the first one is, it's a mindset problem. The regulators are not here to make sure that we're safe enough. The regulator is here to avoid any risk linked to allergies to fragrances. So the problem is not in the text, exactly as François said, it's what's coming next. Because the mindset is that these guys are not useful, they're making fragrances, who cares? We care about what the citizens think in Europe, and we want to avoid any risk. I'm not making it up, they wrote it down. And so that's the path they're taking. Avoiding any risks, second point, is avoiding having the necessary tools to create. Whatever the storytelling we do, whatever the nice branding we can do, whatever the amazing packaging we can do, if we don't create amazing fragrances, what's the point? Because at the end of the day, the emotion goes basically through that. So I think there's a big problem here, and as long as perfume is not, decided as an art, which it is for us, then we will hope that we will always have that looming over our heads. And the third point is, back to what you said at the end, it is so easy to, again what I said, dilute this through. You don't have the tools, you can't take risks anymore, join the fray. Let's make nice fragrances, nice storytelling, but at least you would be joining the big brotherhood of what I call the selective fragrances with a more high-end touch to it. So there's a global definition problem of what we are as an industry. I'm an entrepreneur as well, so I'm a company, and put dollars into it. As an entrepreneur, I can do something else. But as an entrepreneur for the different company, this is artistic perfumery, and that's our business. So back to your question, my answer is yes.
And there's a question in the back of the room, please.
Hello, good morning. I would like to dig a little deeper into the e-commerce topic, because I did understand, I did hear from you that you say having a web presence is important, it's something you need to do. And I also heard that it is quite a challenge. But I didn't hear an answer to how you convey your story, to be frank, and what role your web presence plays, like from a strategic point of view, in your communication marketing matrix, so to speak. So, because from what I've gathered also is when you want to create emotion and you want to create a relationship with your consumers and create a bond, then you do it in your stores or in your physical presence. But you have this reach in the internet. So how do you tackle that challenge?
It's interesting also to explain what we are experiencing with our online business and our physical business, that we have so many more brands online than we have in our physical stores. We have a very loyal client base, and what we have been experimenting and we have been very surprised by results is that people, when you have a relationship as a physical brick-and-mortar store, they see you as a curator, they trust you as a store, as a brand. When we list a new brand which is only available online, and we make a promotion with our Facebook or on the banner on the homepage, we are really surprised how many consumers will order a skincare product or a fragrance just because they trust us with our relationship that we're having. I think this will develop more and more, that your internet can be really an extra tool of launching brands.
Again, I'm really not the expert here for that, but as a as a customer on internet or other kind of goods, luxury goods or not, I think you can convey very quite easily, I wouldn't maybe call it the emotion, but at least some link with the customer by having just a beautiful website with beautiful pictures and some movies. I think we have to get more into the movies and video. And I think just by having that, the customer can feel, oh, it's interesting, I want to smell. In this case, he should be able to order online the samples if he's not able to go in the store to have the complete experience. I think it's, and I love the website of my colleagues here. I think they're doing quite a good job in that. Then you reach a limit in how much you can convey the emotion. So we all said it today, but you can have, let's say, a beautiful and maybe sexy website. Then it's already a very good start.
Maybe I can just quickly share my personal experience. I started a website 2 years ago called Fragrance Republic, and I wanted to take a completely different approach, Perfumery, offering to consumer the little vibes. You know, when we visit a perfumer, we get little vibes from our perfumers and say, let's make these little perfumes that are actually finished available directly to the consumer. And let's create an online platform where the fragrance would go straight from the perfumer desk to the consumer. That's a different approach. It's not like about brands that you sell online. Why did we fail? Mostly actually because outside of the fact that you need a lot of funding, etc. to succeed, the main reason is, I believe, that we didn't transmit any emotion there. We're talking about the craft that people still want to dream. We were talking about how things are beautifully crafted, how great the perfumers are, how wonderful the ingredients are, and how it's made, how it's magic, but the magic was not there. So there is, at the end of the day, people really want to see the name on the product. They want to connect with the name. They want to connect, because we didn't have any name, it was only number. They want to connect with not just the perfumer who made it, but also the packaging. They want to connect in a very different way. And the emotional connection that makes the success of a fragrance, that you couldn't realize it online. So the only exit strategy would have been possibly to open a store. It would be like called Fragrance Republic, where you were invited to smell like formulations from a perfumer, and eventually it can be made for you. But that's another investment, and it's another story. And we're back into a retail thing. So online is really tricky for perfume.
Other questions? There's one here in the front.
Thank you. A lot of panelists mentioned that it is very important for the artisan perfumery to preserve the customer experience. And it is easy to do this in the proprietary stores, in your own networks. It is more difficult to do it already in the retail. You have to educate the salesman who will be the brand ambassador, in the last mile. And the upscale consumers, this is a luxury segment. Upscale consumers, they don't have time anymore, but there is more and more brands coming to the market. So they have to spend time educating themselves about the brands, to make the choice and go to this proprietary store or that proprietary store. What about the ecosystem? Do you see the service providers around your businesses, for example, like perfume stylists who advise their clients about the perfume, who help them navigate the growing number of brands in the artisan perfumery? Thank you. And do you cooperate with them, or do you see that happening? Thank you.
Personally, we will launch as from September in collaboration with Visa Infinite, the Visa Black Card, some atelier of 1.5 atelier in our boutique, and that was not our idea. It was their idea. They approached us, and with this idea, because they said we have And they do that for many other categories, for food, for wine. I think there is really today the interest from, of course, a certain kind of customer, but it's not only a matter of how much purchasing power I have, to really go deeper into a product, how it's created, again, why it's created, etc. And I think, of course, the boutique is the best way, but we are really our partner in America, Sephora, is really doing that very well with their what they call VIP Rouge customer, and it's the first time that with a retailer we will host for their customer in our boutique an event in the month of May, so that they learn more about perfume creation, essential oil, class, brands, etc. I think this is really a big trend, and we have to do that. And you can do that in a normal boutique, in a retail environment, provided you create an atmosphere. So it's a lot of work, but I think this is the key. To convey the emotion, and you go deep into your product. It's interesting.
Any other questions here?
I think there is also a challenge for Artisan Perfumery to find their partner in the new market. What is the view of you? How are you going to choose your partner? Because if you choose the wrong partner, it can be heavily damaged, not only the brand image, and even destroy the whole market. We have seen some of the brands in China being destroyed by their distributor.
So selecting your partnerships and how you go about that.
Just a few comments on that. It's a very tricky thing to do. China, if you would go there as a Westerner, you would never really understand the structure of the market and it's evolving so fast. You have to put some trust in what your partner is doing, and you have to follow the rules. You have to got yourself for your brand. So when I give the example of store versus internet, for us it was clear that in China we would start with stores, which we have done, brick and mortar. But the partnership is something that is absolutely key for our brand to develop, based on how they're going to support the brand, the level of understanding they have, the kind of support we can provide them. You can grow in a country, in a city, or not. China is, of course, a big question mark for all of us. You're about 1.5 billion people there, so there's a market. Another big question mark, which relates to retail, is in India, which, in my mind, should have been the first step, but it would be maybe the last step in terms of development.
I think that I love, those partners when they come to you and they promote the idea of slow move. I think that this could be a good way to filter a good partner. First of all, to feel the emotion and the passion that they may have, and then when they are not in a rush, I think that part also of the success is to promote that notion of slow move. If you want to rush, you won't be able to last, except if you have big money to put behind to sustain the development. So yes, definitely a terrific partner would be, in a way, a slow mover. Brand building slowly. Slow is beautiful. That's part also of the niche development. And you have to be a little bit slutty. Be a slut or smell like one.
Okay, well, I think we will end on that note. And thank you all to the panel, first of all, and thank all of you for coming and attending this morning. I'm just going to give a little commercial plug to Comité Josephine and the Comita Maria de Medici, or Catarina de Medici, because as we talked about the regulations, it's really important that those of you that are brands can participate in these groups to protect the creativity in the future. Okay? Enjoy the rest of the show, and we'll see you around.